Hey, good morning. Are you ready for another courageous conversation? So, today I want to talk about validation. And today I also want to talk about fetishizing marginalized communities and or chasers. Um, there was a quote in the movie Him, and I did a movie review for him, but I didn't even bring up this quote at all, I don't think. I don't remember. But I did write this quote down because it was my favorite line in the whole movie, and I thought about it later. There's a scene where they're trying to break down the future GOAT player, the greatest of all time guy, the next in line for the cult or whatever. And they're trying to push his buttons and attack him below the belt, so to speak. And the quote is, "You're seeking validation from strangers because your father didn't love you." Ouch! Seeking validations from strangers because, and I changed it in my text to "my family didn't love me." And there's a difference between love and acceptance. I do feel love from some of my family. I do not feel love from most of my family. But seeking validation from strangers, ouch. However, I truly had to get to a point where I didn't care about other people's opinions. And that's why I can thrive as public speaking. That's why I can thrive as an entertainer. That's why I chose to start transitioning. Because I was so afraid in the beginning of being tall and big boned and whatever. I was so afraid of what other people would think because I sought their validation. When we are the most insecure and when we love ourselves the least is when we seek validation from others the most. I want you to love me. I want you to like me. I want you to think I'm pretty. I want you to do all those things. Seeking validation from others, which moved my mind into cruising culture and hooking up culture and doing more than flirting for validation. When you are a consenting adult, I do not judge what you do behind closed doors, period. End of story. I don't care. As long as you're both adults and you're both consenting, I don't care what your fetish is. But I was recently, let me say it this way. I believe in learning from other people's mistakes. And my whole life, I have watched people and studied people and analyzed people, and I do my best to learn from other people's mistakes. And some of the things I have seen are the people of marginalization that are often fetishized the most, for example, tranny chasers, chubby chasers, and the BBC chasers. In the early 2000s, when I was a shot girl at Noche Latina Fridays, they had a drag show, and most of the entertainers were world famous Miss Florida pageant queens and beautiful, stunning women that you would probably never know were trans when they walked into the bar to get ready. And I often saw these girls come into the bar to do their makeup with bruises. And being backstage, I would listen to them talk. And many of these women were in extremely abusive situations and with abusive men. Oftentimes straight men that are attracted to them as women, but then having an internalized struggle because my wife or my girlfriend has a penis, whatever. And that occasionally turns into a physical attack. I had a very, very, very good friend when I was in the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence who was quite chubby. And he had a chubby chaser boyfriend who, in their monogamous relationship, cheated on him every day and emotionally, mentally, fiercely abused him. And in front of me, occasionally physically abused him. Like one time we were in a restaurant and he picked up a chair and tried to bash it over his head in front of everybody in the restaurant. Yeah, that chubby chaser really loves you. And of course, I don't need to tell you because I'm sure you know, many people chase the BBC. And you could chase the BBC so much to marry a BBC and still be racist. I know people married to black people that are racist. And I know people that only have sex or chase with the BBC. And me as a trans person, I also have dealt with tranny chasers who fetishize me and treat me as a sexual object because they just want the fetish. They just want the unique encounter. They want to utilize their needs at my expense, and they have no desire to date me. And I would say that's the difference between a chaser and someone who's a transamorous. A tranny chaser generally has no desire to be seen with you in public. They don't want to introduce you to their family. They don't want to have a relationship with you. They don't want to go to the mall. They don't want to go to dinner. They want to come to your house in darkness and leave your house in darkness. Or have you come to theirs, whatever. They're on the DL and they want it to be a secret. So in seeking validation, there's nothing wrong with seeking validation or attention from others. And I'm not talking about bartenders and waiters who are flirting with every customer because they want tips. That's not seeking validation. But I don't see anything wrong with seeking validation from other people. For example, Saturday morning I went to brunch with the girls and I don't know what I was doing, leaning back or fixing my hair or something, and my sunglasses fell off the back of my head and I turned around and I couldn't reach my sunglasses. And the gentleman in the booth behind me very politely reached over and grabbed the sunglasses for me. I love it when people open doors for me and pick up things for me. Like, it validates me. It makes me feel seen. Like when guys are gentlemen and treat me like a lady. And it's funny because I turned around and I blushed and I looked at the group of tables and I was the group at my table and I said, he validated me even with my linebacker shoulder. But from the back, I don't know what I look like. And he reached over and picked up my glasses and I'm like, oh my gosh, my big, huge shoulders. He still helped me. Granted, he probably would have helped any human. It probably wasn't a gentleman thing for a lady, but it validated me. And when I get catcalls from rando guys, as a trans woman, I kind of love it. And in Istanbul, in Turkey, I might have had a mild case of SA where a form of affection was unconsensual and quite aggressive. Nothing below clothing, but forced touch without consent happened. And I went back to my friends and I bragged, or not bragged, but was flattered, like, oh my God, However, I'm not justifying any of that action. Like, you should never touch someone without consent. But in that situation, I felt pretty. I felt passing. I felt validated. But when we are marginalized people and our communities are attacked and plagued, turn on the media and look at these severe red Republican states that are looking at trans porn and all these, like, thou protest too much from the podium and yet you're arrested for gay sex or gay escorts. Like, come on. But when you fetishize, when you're a community that gets fetishized, I guess the point of my conversation today is knowing that we are often a target of someone's sexual desire we need to be very careful in how we proceed in said relationships. Like in high school, when boys told girls, I love you, just to have sex. Like, I remember in the locker room hearing boys saying things like, oh, she'll have sex with you. All you have to do is tell her you love her. Is that the secret word? Is that the code word? So when a guy wants to use you for his sexual gratification and or fetish, be very careful of being fetishized and or chased. There are a big percentage of people that are chasers, rice queens, tranny chasers, chubby chasers, BBC chasers, whatever, that prey on insecurity and prey on vulnerability and take advantage of it. They hope that you are desperate enough to be taken advantage of. And that's something I really want to open your eyes to. Not everyone, but guard your heart, because some people don't have good intentions. They want what they want, and they're going to use you to get it. And when I am often asked what's the difference between a tranny chaser and a straight guy who's just transamorous, first of all, I think all heterosexual people are attracted to men or women, and what is exactly between their legs and or has ever been between their legs has nothing to do with it. If you're attracted to feminine women, it doesn't mean you're attracted to all women. It doesn't mean you're attracted to Rosie O'Donnell or Ellen DeGeneres, for example, but it means you're attracted to women, and some women look like Gigi Gorgeous, and you might be attracted to that, and that's okay. But anyways, validation and chasing. My conversation on the way to work today, and something's happening downtown Fort Lauderdale today. There's cops blocking a lot of streets. We'll see. Loving you, Zizi.